The reception hall was nothing like the glittering domes her cousins had booked for their own weddings. No chandeliers dripping with imported light crystals, no synchronized drone ballet hovering above the guests, no holographic orchestras projecting across the ceiling. Instead, Sophia's space gleamed with restraint. Clean, geometric lines, lightwood panels, vines curling along transparent bioglass walls that looked out toward the vertical gardens of the city. A string quartet of living musicians, humans, not AI, played in the corner. The hall smelled faintly of rosemary and ozone. It was intimate, elegant, too intimate according to her family. From the moment she stepped into the room, she felt their eyes on her, scanning, comparing, calculating social worth the way the city's neural status apps did automatically. She had muted her public metrics tonight: followers, investor ranks, brand endorsement scores, all locked behind privacy filters. To her parents, that in itself was an embarrassment. Like arriving naked, her mother had hissed earlier. Now, as guests drifted in, Sophia forced her smile to stay steady. She saw her mother at the bar, tilting her head toward a pair of uncles. Words slipped, soft but slicing. Such a pity. Feels more like a graduation dinner than a wedding. Laughter followed, brittle as glass. Sophia's nails pressed into her palm. She inhaled through it. Don't give them the scene they want. Her cousin Miranda arrived in a storm of synthetic silk and holojewels, dress shimmering with coded constellations. She leaned in for an air kiss, perfume sharp like citrus acid. "My God, Sophie," Miranda drawled, voice amplified just enough for surrounding guests. "I nearly thought I'd walked into a charity fundraiser. No status drones, no influencer wall. How quaint." Sophia's lips curved, though her jaw ached. "Good to see you too, Miranda, still renting your wardrobe from Novacorp." The corner of Miranda's smile faltered, just for a beat. Then she laughed, too high, and swept past. Small victory, but Sophia stored it like a secret gem in her pocket. Her father intercepted her next, silver suit gleaming, his biometric lapel flashing a constant stream of stock market alerts. He pressed her shoulder with a too-firm hand. "Sophia," he said softly, smile never reaching his eyes. "Couldn't you at least have booked the Meridian Dome? I told you I'd cover the deposit." She kept her voice level. "We wanted something smaller." "We?" His gaze flicked across the room as if searching for her fiancé. "Or you, because this feels like your stubbornness. You'll regret it when the photos trend, if they trend." Her throat tightened. She took a sip of water to avoid replying. He still thinks everything is optics, numbers, rankings. Behind them, her younger cousin Elias was live-streaming his own commentary, narrating the decor into his lens. "Yeah, guys, handmade decorations, actual paper, retro chic, they're calling it. Pretty wild, right? No AI render at all. Guess that's cool?" His smirk betrayed the mockery beneath. Sophia caught the eye of a guest who wasn't family, a woman from her fiancé's circle, warm-eyed, leaning closer to whisper, "I think it's beautiful. Feels human." The words nearly undid her composure. Gratitude flared hot, then she masked it with another measured smile. Dinner began. Plates arrived, handcrafted ceramic instead of printable graphene, food grown in local soil rather than nutrient vats. The aromas, herbs, roasted roots, spices, filled the air with something grounding. The murmurs of disapproval sharpened. Uncle Darren chuckled, swirling his drink. "Couldn't you at least rent a bigger hall?" Aunt Livia lifted her brows at the centerpiece, glass jars with soft bioluminescent moss. "Are those handmade decorations? How quaint." Laughter, a ripple that spread down the table. Sophia swallowed against the burn in her chest. She kept cutting her vegetables, knife steady, though her ears burned with the sting of every word. Her fiancé, Adam, brushed her hand under the table, thumb tracing reassurance. She breathed, nodded slightly. "Honestly," Miranda said again, sipping her wine, "if I didn't know better, I'd think this was some prototype wedding for a startup launch. Minimalist branding, very disruptive chic. She grinned, teeth gleaming. Except without the investors. Sophia's gaze sharpened. Miranda didn't know. None of them did. The secret nestled beneath her silence, pressed like a heartbeat. But the timing wasn't right. Not yet. Better without investors, Sophia said softly and lifted her glass. Keeps things honest. Her father chuckled, pitying, dismissive. Spoken like someone who's never handled a real portfolio. The laughter returned. Inside, Sophia's resolve hardened. Let them laugh. Let them count followers and measure status by holograms and projections. She had something else. And when the moment came, the shift would be irreversible. For now, she played her role, the quiet one, the odd one, the failure who chose love over status. Her secret, her silent revenge, waited beneath the surface. And at the far end of the table, she caught the eyes of another guest. Daniel, a late arrival, friend of Adam's. He leaned back in his chair, amusement flickering across his expression, not cruel, not mocking, curious. When he raised his glass to her across the room, the corner of his mouth curved like he knew a joke no one else did. For the first time all evening, Sophia felt the weight on her chest ease. The low hum of conversation swelled as more guests drifted into the dining hall, carrying with them the glow of augmented lenses and status projections. Everyone shimmered in some way, tiny drones polishing cuffs mid-air, dresses that shifted patterns with each toast, lapels flashing follower counts like medals. Sophia sat straight, fork poised above her plate, as though posture alone might shield her from the ongoing stream of digs. Every laugh felt sharpened at the edges, every side glance calculated. Her parents were in their element, circling guests, whispering alliances, subtly broadcasting their disapproval of this minimalist embarrassment without ever needing to say her name. Her cousins were worse. Miranda narrated the evening as though it were a comedy, her voice pitched loud enough to carry. Retro food, retro music. Next thing, Sophie will say she hand-sewed the dress. She giggled, showing diamond-encrusted incisors enhanced to sparkle when light hit them. Sophia lowered her gaze to her plate, focusing on the weight of the fork, the earthy scent of roasted roots. She thought, every barb they throw, they're only measuring themselves, not me. Still, heat flared under her skin. And then the energy in the room shifted. The side doors opened, drawing a ripple of attention. A tall figure entered, sleek navy suit catching the glow of the overhead biolights. He carried himself with the ease of someone unconcerned with being measured. His lapel display was muted, but the glances that passed across the room suggested recognition. Daniel. He strode through the tables with unhurried grace, eyes scanning before locking on Sophia. A flicker of curiosity or amusement lit his expression. He joined the table, slipping into the seat across from her, as though he had always belonged there. Finally, Miranda said theatrically, fanning herself. A real guest. Someone who won't faint at the sight of a drone light. Daniel poured himself water, lips quirking. Forgive my lateness. I heard I'd missed the entertainment, though. His gaze brushed Sophia's before drifting lazily toward Miranda. Is that true? Miranda brightened, ready to perform. Oh, plenty of entertainment. Sophie's trying to reinvent the concept of weddings. Stripped down, raw, almost like a budget reality show. A few chuckles rippled. Sophia clenched her fork tighter. Daniel tilted his head. Reality show. He looked back at Sophia, interest sharpening. Funny, I heard something different. He raised his glass toward her, catching the glow of the bioluminescent moss centerpiece. His voice carried, casual yet precise. So this is the woman, he said, smirk curling, who turned down a high-paying job just to build her own empire. I think I just figured out why half the men here are suddenly nervous. A beat of silence, then gasps and laughter scattered across the table. Aunts froze mid-bite. Uncles lifted brows. Sophia's father stiffened, drink pausing halfway to his lips. Sophia blinked. Her pulse thundered. She hadn't expected anyone, least of all Daniel, to lay her secret so casually bare. But then heat gave way to something else. Relief, sharp and sudden. The truth was out, not from her lips, but from his, delivered like a joke, though it landed like revelation. She set her fork down slowly, meeting his eyes. His smirk remained, but in it was something conspiratorial. He knows exactly what he's doing, she realized. She leaned closer, her own smile cutting. Better to build my own table, she said softly, voice carrying, than beg for a seat at theirs. The room reacted like a hive disturbed. Gasps, sharp whispers, heads swiveling. Miranda's mouth opened, then shut. Sophia's father shifted uncomfortably, while her mother forced a laugh that sounded brittle. Daniel tipped his glass. Spoken like a true builder. For a moment, Sophia allowed herself to breathe. Then the barrage began. Wait, wait, Elias blurted, lowering his lens stream mid-broadcast. Empire? What empire? Uncle Darren squinted. Did he mean you actually own something? Another cousin leaned forward. Are you really in Forbes? I thought that was just a rumor. Questions piled, voices overlapping. Even the laughter carried a new edge. Not derision this time, but sudden hunger, sharp curiosity. Sophia's stomach twisted. This was exactly what she had feared. Their interest wasn't admiration, it was calculation. The very people who dismissed her now scrambled to measure her worth in metrics. She smiled thinly, sipping her wine instead of answering. Let them sweat. Daniel broke the tension again, drawling lightly. Careful, everyone. If you ask too many questions, she might start charging consulting fees. Laughter, this time warmer. Sophia allowed herself a small laugh too, eyes flicking toward him in reluctant gratitude. Miranda, however, wasn't finished. She leaned in, voice sweet but venomous. Empire, huh? Cute. Does it pay in real currency or just followers? Sophia's hand tightened around her glass. Her instinct screamed to strike back, but before she could, Daniel chuckled. Miranda, darling, don't embarrass yourself. You of all people should know. Subscribers vanish overnight, but intellectual property? That stays. The table stilled. Miranda flushed, smile faltering. Sophia bit back a grin. Heat climbed her cheeks, not from shame this time, but from something reckless, almost giddy. She angled her body slightly toward Daniel, lowering her voice so only he could catch it. You didn't have to do that. He tilted his head, studying her with lazy curiosity. Didn't I? You looked like you were done letting them chew on you. The spark between them was undeniable now, humming beneath the chatter. Dinner continued, but the energy had shifted. Every word from Sophia's relatives came tinged with newfound caution. They still tested, but with hesitation, no longer sure of the ground they stood on. At one point, her father cleared his throat, voice heavy. Sophia, is this true? You've founded something. Sophia dabbed her lips with a napkin, eyes steady. Yes. Silence pressed, dozens of eyes on her. She could almost see the metrics recalculating across their minds, their apps, their future inheritance charts. Her mother broke it with brittle laughter. Well, isn't that charming? Perhaps a side project will keep her busy. Sophia smiled. It's more than a side project, Daniel added, voice smooth. Much more. You'll see soon enough. That smile again, aimed at Sophia, private and edged with heat. And in that moment, surrounded by all the eyes that had once dismissed her, she felt the tables begin to turn. Act 3, Resolution, Turning the Tables. English approximately 2,000 words. The dinner had become a battlefield fought in smiles. Sophia felt every glance, every laugh aimed like a dart. Her father leaned back, feigning boredom, but his knuckles tightened white around his glass. Her mother wore the smile of a diplomat hosting a dinner gone wrong. The cousins, once smug, now watched with predatory curiosity, calculating how Sophia's empire might stack against their own alliances, their metrics, their trust funds. She knew this energy too well, the room buzzing with judgments disguised as pleasantries, the sting of being the odd one out. Except this time the sting no longer burned, it sparked. Daniel had changed the current the moment he opened his mouth. His smirk still lingered, but the glint in his eye said it wasn't casual banter. He'd thrown her the rope and she'd climbed. Now the rope hung in her grip and everyone else scrambled to catch it. Aunt Livia cleared her throat, leaning forward in her glittering jacket that pulsed softly with neon thread veins. "Sophia, dear, since when have you been involved in business?" The pause before the last word was heavy, as though business was a language Sophia couldn't possibly speak. Sophia cut another piece of roasted root vegetable, the knife gliding without tremor. "Since I learned not to wait for permission," the words landed sharper than she expected. A ripple stirred. Miranda jumped in, voice pitched to sound innocent, but aimed to cut. "But surely it's small. A boutique project? Something local? You can't mean on a global scale." She glanced down the table, inviting others to laugh. Before Sophia could answer, Daniel leaned his elbows on the table, gaze lazy. "Local? That's adorable. You really don't read the feeds, do you?" Miranda stiffened. Of course I do." Sophia's pulse raced. She hadn't planned to reveal anything tonight. Her instinct screamed to stay silent, to let them underestimate her. Yet part of her, tired of being carved open by whispers, longed to watch their faces crack. Daniel tilted his head, watching her, as though asking permission without words. Her chest tightened, but she gave the faintest nod. He smiled, slow and dangerous. "Funny timing. You might want to check the new global index stream." Across the table, Elias flicked his augmented lens, scrolling. His jaw dropped. "Wait, what?" "Sophia." Screens lit up around the table, cousins and uncles pulling metrics into the air. A shimmering holograph bloomed from Elias's projector. Sophia's face, poised and sharp, beneath a headline that rippled across the feed. "Founder of Green Core Industries named among top 100 innovators of the year." Gasps erupted. Livia fumbled her glass. Miranda's smirk collapsed. Her father froze, the faint tremor in his jaw betraying the blow. Sophia's throat tightened as her own image hovered over the table. The photo wasn't staged glamour, not polished brand. It was her, sleeves rolled, hair tied back, standing in the middle of a biolab surrounded by living architecture, green vines sprouting from engineered soil. "Impossible," Miranda whispered. You never said—" Sophia set her fork down, folding her hands. Her voice remained soft, steady. "You never asked." Silence stretched. Then the room buzzed all at once. Questions, exclamations, accusations. When did this happen? Who invested? Is it scalable? How much equity? Every voice clawed for detail, as though proximity to her could anchor them higher in the rankings. Sophia let it crash over her. For once, she wasn't scrambling to defend. She simply existed in the eye of the storm, calm. Daniel tapped his glass lightly. The chime rang sharp enough to cut the noise. "Actually," he said, tone smooth, "there's something you should all see." The lights dimmed. A hollow screen unfolded above the dining table, shimmering into focus. The guests hushed. A video began. Images flickered. Sophia's company, not in sterile boardrooms, but in fields outside the megacities, where engineered soil turned barren land green again. Children ran through community domes powered by solar veins her tech had pioneered. Farmers in exosuits harvested with ease. Headlines scrolled, "Biotech for the people." Restoring Earth one city at a time. The final frame, Sophia at a conference, not in designer gowns but in her plain work jacket, speaking to a hall of thousands. Applause thundered in the recording, echoing now into the silent dining hall. When the video ended, the hush that followed was absolute. Sophia sat perfectly still, pulse roaring in her ears. Then someone clapped, soft, deliberate. Daniel! The sound broke the spell. Applause spread across the hall, reluctant at first, then louder. Even those who had mocked her clapped, faces twisted with awe, envy, or both. Her parents stayed frozen. Her mother's lips parted as though to protest, but no words came. Her father's eyes glistened with something raw, though he masked it with a cough. Sophia rose slowly. The room hushed again, attention snapping to her. She lifted her glass, voice clear. Family taught me one thing. True value isn't in how much gold is on the table, but who is sitting around it. I chose love, respect, authenticity, and I wouldn't trade that for any ballroom chandelier. The words landed heavy, stripping away every veneer. For a long breath, silence reigned. Then, respect. Tangible, in the way eyes shifted, in the way no one dared laugh. Sophia felt the weight of Daniel's gaze. His eyes met hers across the flickering light, admiration threaded with something hotter, unspoken. He didn't smile, not fully, just a tilt of his lips, a glint that made her pulse skip. Her parents looked at her as though seeing her for the first time, humbled, shaken, and maybe, just maybe, proud. Sophia exhaled. For years, she'd been the shadow, the failure, the one who didn't play their game. Now the game had shifted, not by shouting, not by vengeance, but by letting truth shine. Later, when the music returned and guests rose to mingle again, she walked hand in hand with Adam. Her body hummed with triumph, not gloating but grounded, alive. Behind her, she felt Daniel's gaze still lingering, steady, curious, burning with promise. The night had begun as a humiliation. It ended with the empire she had built, the love she had chosen, and the family forced to face what they almost lost. And Sophia, radiant, unshaken, walked forward in control of her own story.